The war on planet Varric 7 was chaos. Dust storms raged, lasers flashed across the sky, and the screams of the wounded echoed through the rocky canyons. Earth's forces were being pushed back. They had landed with hope, but now hope was bleeding. Out in the middle of the battlefield, while soldiers ran and fired. One man walked calmly forward. He carried no weapon. He wore no armor. On his back was a heavy medkit, and on his face a quiet focus. His name was Lucas Reed, a combat medic from Earth. But he wasn't supposed to be here. "Who sent this guy?" shouted Lieutenant Jorah over the comms as he ducked behind cover. "He's unarmed." Another soldier screamed, "We need fighters, not nurses." Lucas ignored the shouting. He knelt beside a soldier whose leg had been blown apart by a plasma grenade. His hands moved fast, calm, steady. While others panicked, Lucas focused. "You're gonna be okay," he said gently. "Just hold still." The wounded man gasped in pain. "Where's your weapon?" Lucas gave a small smile. "This is my weapon." He tapped the medkit, then injected a serum into the soldier's neck. Within seconds, the bleeding stopped. Flesh began to knit itself back together. The soldier stared in shock. "How?" Lucas didn't answer. He was already moving to the next fallen soldier, far above, in the enemy's warship. Commander Racker of the Zenari Alliance watched the battlefield. His face twisted with confusion. "We've hit their front lines 20 times, he growled. "And yet, they keep standing." His second in command, a tall creature with glowing eyes, pointed to a screen. "Look there, my lord, that one. He's not fighting, he's healing." Racker narrowed his eyes. "One human doing this much damage to our efforts." "He's not a soldier," the officer said. "He's a medic." Racker snorted. "Then kill him." Lucas never expected to be here. He was meant to be stationed at a quiet moonbase, helping with training simulations. But some error in the system, maybe a misplaced file. Maybe fate had placed him on a transport to Virex-7. And now he was the only medic for a battalion of over 200 fighters. He didn't like war, never had. As a child, he had watched his sister die from a bombing during a rebel raid. No one helped her in time. That's why he became a medic. Not to take lives, but to save them. And now, in the middle of a war he never signed up for. Lucas Reed was doing exactly that. A sharp crack echoed through the rocks. A sniper bullet hit the ground inches from Lucas's foot. He dropped to one knee and turned, just in time to see a second shot rip through his shoulder. He fell hard. Pain bloomed instantly. Blood soaked his sleeve. But he didn't cry out. Instead, he reached into his own kit and jammed a pain inhibitor into his arm. Then he crawled to the next wounded soldier. A young private, barely conscious, was bleeding from the chest. Lucas ripped open the armor, worked with one hand, and stabilized. Her heartbeat, the pain in his shoulder, burned, but he kept going. A nearby soldier shouted, "Doc, you're hit!" Lucas nodded. "Later, she goes first. You'll bleed out." "I won't," he said. "I'm too stubborn." The enemy sniper was watching. Through his scope, he had a perfect view of Lucas crawling, bleeding, saving lives. He radioed in. "Target is still moving, still healing." "Then end him," came the harsh reply. The sniper took a deep breath and fired. But just before the bullet struck, an explosion rocked the battlefield. A piece of debris flew through the air and struck the sniper's perch. His shot went wide. The sniper tumbled from his position dead before he hit the rocks. Back below, Lucas was still moving. Hours passed. Night fell, and still. Lucas worked. Word had spread through the ranks. The medic won't stop. Soldiers fought harder, knowing someone was there to bring them back. Even the aliens began whispering. "Don't aim for the chest," one muttered. "That human just brings them back. They say he walks with death, but never dies." One Zenari commander ordered a biostrike. "Let's see him heal from this." Toxic gas rolled across the field. Men screamed as their lungs burned. Lucas grabbed a rebreather from his kit, forced it onto the nearest soldier, then another and another. He staggered through the gas, coughing, eyes burning, but never stopped. When the cloud cleared, a full squad had survived because of him. The human commander, Colonel Voss, finally saw what Lucas had done. "You should have died 5 times over," she said, shaking her head. "You're not just a medic. I never claimed to be anything else, Lucas said quietly. I just won't let them die. The next morning, the battlefield was still. The Zenari forces had pulled back. Too many of their kills had come undone. Commander Racker stood silent in his war room, watching replay footage of Lucas dragging a soldier to cover with one arm. This human, ... he muttered, this healer, is more dangerous than 10 soldiers with guns. His advisor whispered, What do we do? Racker's claws tapped the console. We wait. And when he's alone, we strike. But they never got the chance. Earth forces received reinforcements, pushing forward with renewed strength, and everywhere they fought, they followed the stories of the medic who couldn't be stopped. Lucas Reed became more than a name. He became a symbol to humans. He was proof that one man without weapons, without violence, could change everything. To aliens, he became a legend wrapped in fear. Some swore he was protected by spirits. Others believed he had mastered life and death. But Lucas, he never cared about the rumors. He just kept his medkit close, because for him, the real battle wasn't about killing the enemy. It was about saving one more life, before the war claimed another soul in the quiet after the battle. Lucas sat beneath a broken tree, holding his shoulder. A young soldier approached. Doc, they're giving out medals. Lucas looked up and smiled faintly. I didn't fight. You've saved over 200 people. I just did what I was trained to do. The soldier shook his head. No, sir. You did what no one else could do. Lucas closed his eyes and leaned back. He didn't need a medal. He had something better. Peace, if only for a moment. And the knowledge that because he came, more people walked away from that battlefield alive. And sometimes in a galaxy burning with war. That was the greatest victory of all. Smoke still floated in the sky above Varric 7. The battle had slowed, but the wounds it left were deep both on the land and in the soldiers' minds. Yet amid the pain and silence, a single name was being whispered through every human camp. Lucas Reed. He wasn't a hero in the normal sense. He never held a rifle, never threw a grenade. But somehow, the battalion that was supposed to be wiped out was still standing. Colonel Voss entered the medical tent. She found Lucas standing over a patient, using a pulse stabilizer with calm, precise hands. You should be resting, she said. Lucas didn't look up. He's bleeding internally. No time for rest. You've been awake for 3 days. Lucas gently adjusted a bandage and checked the soldier's vitals. Sleep later, lives first. Voss sighed. Fine, but you're not going back to the front orders. Lucas looked at her, then tired but sharp. Orders sent me here by mistake, remember? This time it's not a mistake. If anything happens to you, morale collapses. Lucas turned back to his patient. They don't need me for morale. They need someone to make sure they come back alive. Across the planet, deep in a hidden bunker, the Zenari High Command watched. Commander Racker's eyes were fixed on a screen showing Lucas in action. We've fired plasma rounds, gas, even anti-healing nanites, and still this human stops death. He's just a medic, growled one officer. No, Racker replied. He's something else. He pointed to a map. We've traced his pattern. He's always exactly where the worst fighting is. How? Coincidence? Another general stepped forward. We've heard rumors from our spies. What rumors? That Earth trained him differently. Some say his body was modified. Others say his brain has special tech. Some think he's not even human anymore. Racker leaned closer to the screen. Then I want him captured. Back at the human base, something strange happened. One of the wounded soldiers Lucas had treated suddenly crashed. His heart stopped without warning. Alarms blared. Lucas ran to him and started chest compressions. 1 minute, 2-5. No response. Lucas pulled out an injector and stabbed it into the man's neck. The body twitched, and then the soldier gasped and opened his eyes. Everyone in the room froze. A junior medic whispered he was dead. Lucas didn't answer. He just took a breath, wiped the sweat from his brow, and moved to the next cot. The whispers grew louder. Did you hear he brought a man back after 5 minutes? I saw it. The guy wasn't breathing, no pulse. Lucas Reed doesn't just save lives, he cheats death. Some began calling him the Death Defier. Others joked he carried a syringe filled with miracles. But the enemy didn't find it funny. That night, a Zenari stealth team landed near the human camp. 6 trained assassins moved silently under the moonless sky. Their mission: find Lucas Reed, bring him back, or kill him. They found the medical tent easily. Lucas was alone, restocking supplies, humming softly to himself. The lead assassin raised his plasma blade and stepped forward. But Lucas turned before the blade, struck. He didn't panic, he didn't run. He simply looked at the assassin and said, "You're bleeding?" The alien froze. "What?" Lucas pointed at a small cut on the alien's wrist, barely visible. "That's infected. You should treat it." For a second, no one moved. Then one of the younger assassins, nervous, unsure, whispered, "Why are you helping him?" Lucas's voice was quiet, because even enemies deserve to live. The lead assassin stepped back. His blade still hummed with heat. "Are you not afraid?" "I'm always afraid," Lucas said, "but I'm more afraid of letting someone die when I can stop it." The assassins didn't kill him that night. They vanished into the shadows, confused and shaken by morning. The whole base knew what had happened. Lucas Reed had looked death in the face and made it pause. But not everyone saw him as a hero. General Maris, a hardened war leader from Earth's high command, landed at the base. "The next day, this man is a distraction," he told Colonel Voss. "Your soldiers are too focused on fairy tales." "He's not a fairy tale," Voss replied. "He's the reason we're still alive. He's a medic, not a miracle." "No," she said quietly, "he's both." Maris demanded a test. He wanted Lucas pulled from the field and sent to a science station for examination. But before any orders could be carried out, a distress call came in from the North Ridge. A full squad had been ambushed. Over 20 soldiers, badly wounded, no time for backup, no air support. Colonel Voss looked at Maris. "We wait for your orders. They die." Then she looked at Lucas. "I'll go," Lucas said softly. Grabbing his medkit, Maris protested, "You'll never make it through the fire zone." Lucas smiled. "I'm not here to make it through. I'm here to get them out." He left alone. Through ash, flame, and falling debris. Lucas walked. Drones showed him surrounded by chaos ships crashing, plasma storms flaring, alien scouts watching from the shadows. And yet, he didn't stop. When he reached the ridge, the wounded were barely hanging on. One had lost both legs, another was blind, a third had lost hope completely. Lucas moved quickly, stopping the bleeding, resetting bones, whispering calm words as he worked. Then came the sound of engines.zyn RE dropships. Reinforcements.2. Many. Lucas looked around. He had 20 injured men, no weapons, and no chance of escape. But he didn't run. Instead, he stood tall, arms raised, in front of the wounded. And when the enemy approached, they didn't fire. They saw his eyes. They saw the white medkit on his back, and they remembered the stories. The lead alien stepped forward. "You are Lucas Reed." "I am. You will not fight." "No. Then why stay?" Lucas didn't blink. "Because they need me." The alien looked at his soldiers. "Do not shoot." "What?" one asked. "He does not kill. He heals. We will not stain our hands with his blood." They left him untouched. Lucas carried every wounded soldier back one by one. It took hours, but every single one survived. Back at base, even General Maris stood in silence as the last stretcher was placed down. "I was wrong," Maris said. "You're not just a medic." Lucas gave a small smile. "Don't worry, sir. I don't plan on becoming anything else." That night, around every campfire, soldiers told the same story. How one man walked into hell, with no gun, no shield, and brought 20 souls back with him. He didn't defeat the enemy. He didn't destroy machines. But he did something no weapon could do. He gave the human army something to believe in, and in a galaxy drowning in war that was more powerful than any gun. Dawn broke over Varric 7 with a red sky. The ground was still black from old fires, and broken war machines lay scattered like bones. The war had quieted, but only for a moment. Every soldier on the base knew what was coming. The Zenari Alliance was preparing a massive assault, 10,000 troops, dozens of warships, and new weapons Earth had never seen before. If the humans failed to hold the line today, they would lose the entire planet. In the command tent, Colonel Voss stared at the live feeds. They're coming from all sides. We won't survive this. General Maris leaned on the table. We pull back now, or we lose everyone. A young officer spoke up. The men, they're asking for one thing, Voss asked. They want Lucas with them. Maris scoffed. He's just one man. The officer's voice was firm. Maybe, but he's the reason they still believe they can win. Lucas Reed stood outside the tent, already strapping on his medkit. His arm was still in a sling from the last mission. His steps were slower now, but his eyes were clear. He looked at the soldiers gathered near the trenches, some scared, others angry, all exhausted. He walked past them one by one, nodding, speaking gently, "You'll make it. We've been through worse. Keep breathing. I'll be close." A nervous private looked at him. "They say no one dies when you're around. Is that true?" Lucas paused, then said, "Let's make it true one more time, at noon." The sky turned black with enemy ships. The first wave hit hard. Plasma bolts rained down. Explosions lit up the trenches. Earth's soldiers fired back, yelling, pushing forward, and Lucas ran through it all. No weapon, no armor, just a glowing white medkit and bleeding feet. He moved faster than seemed possible, dragging injured men out of fire, stitching wounds. Under falling debris, injecting pain blockers mid-sprint, a captain took a direct blast to the chest. His pulse dropped. He collapsed behind a scorched wall. Lucas was there in seconds. "Stay with me," he whispered, jamming 2 syringes into the captain's side. The man coughed, groaned on, opened his eyes. Lucas grinned. "Told you. Not." Today, from the enemy's view, something strange began to happen. They were landing hits. Soldiers were falling, but no one was dying. Every time a human dropped, Lucas was already there. Every time a squad was wounded, they were back in the fight minutes later. The aliens grew confused, then fearful. One Zenari commander slammed his fist against a control panel. "How is this possible?" Another officer spoke softly. "It's him, the human healer." Then target him directly. A squad of elite Zenari assassins was sent behind the lines with one job: kill Lucas Reed. They found him treating a young Marine with shrapnel in his neck. Lucas didn't even flinch when he saw them. "I'm a medic," he said. "Killing me won't win your war." The lead assassin raised his blade. "You're not just a medic, you're a symbol." Lucas nodded. "Symbols don't bleed, but I do, so let's make a deal. You walk away, and I keep saving lives." The assassins hesitated. The Marine, on the ground, barely breathing, whispered, "Please, don't kill him." The lead Zenari stared at Lucas then. He lowered his weapon. "Today is not your day to die." And they vanished into the smoke. At command, the live feeds showed something unbelievable. Hundreds of enemy strikes, thousands of injuries, but not a single confirmed death on Earth's side. Colonel Voss whispered, This can't be real." Maris watched the screen, stunned. What kind of man does this? The answer came over the comms, clear and calm. "Lucas Red," someone said. "Still breathing, still working." At sunset, the final wave broke. The Zenari forces began retreating. For the first time, they couldn't break a human line. They had the weapons, they had the numbers, but Earth had Lucas Reed. And that day, no soldier died, not one. After the battle, the camp was filled with silence. Not sadness, not fear, just shock. Every soldier had made it back. Wounded, yes, scarred, definitely. But alive. Lucas sat on the ground near the med tent, covered in dirt and blood, his shirt torn, his hands shaking. A young medic knelt beside him. "Doc, we did it." Lucas looked up, dazed. "We?" She smiled. "Okay, you did it," he chuckled weakly, then winced from the pain in his ribs. "Tell them I'm taking a nap," she nodded. "You've earned it." As he lay down, dozens of soldiers passed by. Some saluted, others whispered thanks. No one disturbed him because they knew they had survived the worst battle of the war, and all because of a man with no gun. Just a medkit and the will to save every single life. Later that night, in the enemy warship, Commander Racker watched the battlefield from orbit. His officers stood in silence. He growled, "What do we do with a man who won't let death win?" No one had an answer, because on Varix, a medic had done the impossible, and legends had already begun. The sky above Varix 7 had changed. Where once there were firestorms and warships, Now there was silence. Smoke still curled from the scorched hills, but no more shots were fired. The Zenari forces had pulled back. Their commanders weren't afraid of Earth's weapons, but they were afraid of something else. They were afraid of the medic. Lucas Reed had no gun, no armor, yet somehow Earth hadn't lost a single soldier in the last battle. And now the galaxy was watching. Inside Earth's command base, General Mara sat at the center of a video call with the Galactic Alliance High Command. Alien leaders from dozens of systems stared at the human screens. "We heard your side survived a full assault without deaths," one alien said. "Is that true?" Maris hesitated. "Yes. Who did this?" He turned the camera slightly. Lucas Reed sat quietly nearby, his arm in a sling. Face pale from exhaustion. The screen went quiet. Then a voice whispered, "That's the one, the Death Defier." Lucas didn't react. He didn't even look up. He was too busy reading through the files of the next batch of wounded. But trouble was coming. The Zenari Command Council had decided they could not allow Lucas to keep healing Earth's forces. "If we can't kill him," Commander Racker growled, "we will break him." They deployed Project Silenza, weapon designed to shut down all nanotech, medkits, and healing fields within a combat zone. It would only activate for 1 hour where death would return. That hour came during a sudden ambush without warning. Zenari fighters struck an outpost where Lucas was stationed. Explosions rocked the valley. Lucas ran toward the wounded, but when he opened his medkit, nothing worked. The injections failed, the drones shut down. The medical foam remained. Inactive, he froze. One soldier lay on the ground, coughing blood. "Doc, help!" Lucas gritted his teeth. "I will. But your gear? Then I'll do it the old way." He pulled off his gloves and used his bare hands. He wrapped wounds with torn fabric. He pressed on chests to restart hearts. He used a broken radio wire as a tourniquet. For every tool that failed, he found something new. But he couldn't save everyone. 3 soldiers died within minutes. The first deaths in days. Lucas felt like the air was crushed from his lungs. He dropped to his knees, blood on his hands, heart pounding. "Was supposed to protect them?" he whispered. Behind him, another soldier groaned. Still alive, still bleeding, Lucas stood up. Not fast, not strong, but he moved anyway, because even if the galaxy turned its back, he wouldn't, not as long as he had hands, breath, and time. By the end of the battle, the field was quiet. Soldiers at the outpost, 84, had lived. Lucas collapsed beside the last patient he treated. Unconscious, he woke up 2 days later, inside a hospital ship. Colonel Voss stood beside his bed. She looked like she hadn't slept either. "Died," she said softly. Lucas blinked at the ceiling. "I thought I did." "No," she said. "But when they pulled you out, your heart had stopped." Twice he turned his head. "Did we hold the line?" She smiled faintly. "You held everything." She paused, then added, "They want to award you a medal, the Galactic Cross of Valor. First human to ever receive it." Lucas closed his eyes. "I don't need a medal." "Then what do you need?" He opened his eyes again. "I need the war to end." And something strange began to happen. Across the galaxy, stories spread not of Earth's generals, not of their weapons, but of a quiet man with a white medkit and bloody hands. Zenari soldiers began surrendering, asking only one thing: "Is the healer here?" Other alien species, once neutral, now sent medics to train with Earth's doctors. A peace movement began, sparked not by speeches, but by one man's actions. They called him the Saint of Verex, the hand that defied death, and simply the medic. But Lucas hated those names. He didn't want statues, or songs, or stories. He just wanted people to live. Years later, long after the war ended, a small group of soldiers visited a quiet village on a green planet. There, tending a small garden behind a simple clinic, was an older man with silver hair and soft eyes. He still wore a white armband with a red cross. A child ran past him. Laughing, he smiled, wiped dirt from his hands, and looked up as the visitors approached. "You're Lucas Reed, right?" One asked. "I used to be," he replied. "We were told you don't practice anymore." He nodded. "War's over. My patients don't carry rifles now. They carry books or fruit baskets." The soldiers hesitated. One finally said, "We came to say thank you." Lucas tilted his head. "For what? For saving us. For saving everyone." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he whispered, "That's all I ever wanted." They left. Flowers near the garden gate. Not medals, not banners, just small signs of life. And as they walked away, one of them said, "He never fired a shot, but he won the war." And deep in the stars, even the Zanari remembered. They had feared his healing more than any weapon, because in a galaxy where every power raced to build bigger bombs, one human had chosen hope, and somehow that had been stronger than all their armies.